Who's no doubt be played by Warren Beatty in the next big movie about his reporting career. Also, New York One's Errol Lewis, who's been reporting on Donald Trump for years. Trump supporter Kayleigh McEnany, as well as Trump critics Jonathan Tasini and Van Jones. Carl, one thing, we were talking about, first of all, Steve Bannon in the last hour. I'm wondering what you make of his role in the White House, because he's supposed to be on kind of equal par with Reince Priebus, the chief of staff.
The real thing about Bannon is he's a killer. That he specializes.
You don't mean that literally. You
no,
mean that
but
in that
but
right
he's there to really go forward, lies, slandering, savage the opposition. That's really what he did during the campaign, and there's a real precedent in Donald Trump's life for this, and that is his closest friend, the late Roy Cohn, who was Joseph McCarthy's young aide. And Cohn specialized in this kind of savaging of enemies, lies, slander, character assassination.
Roy Cohn, especially once he became an attorney in New York,
yes,
which is where Donald Trump met
but
him,
also with Joe McCarthy. But
was
it was
fighting back hard.
Consistent with his career. And Trump loves these fights. And he came to really have great affection and respect for Bannon during this campaign. And he helped him win it. There's no question that this tactical assault that is represented by Bannon is something basic to Trump's strategy.
It's interesting, though, Errol. I mean, he seems to be setting up a White House where he has, an establishment figure, Reince Priebus, as chief of staff, Bannon also having equal access to the president. So sort of a different styles, different ways of different MOs.
Creative tension. I mean, he's not the first leader to do that, to sort of let people fight it out among themselves and then come in and sort of use that as a way to have their rivalry, bring out the best in them, then finally make the decision. In this particular case, though, he's got somebody who is getting so much negative feedback, who's getting, who has disturbed so many people in the political world that President-elect Trump cannot afford to simply alienate or ignore, that it raises the question about whether or not his proper place, understanding that he's going to be an aide and a sort of a comrade in arms for Donald Trump, whether the right place is to have him on the government payroll or perhaps somewhere else in the political world.
Van Jones, you spoke out against Steve Bannon in our last hour, but why shouldn't Donald Trump, who won the race, why shouldn't he be able to have whatever advisor he wants with him? And clearly when Steve Bannon came on with Kellyanne Conway, they righted the ship enough that Donald Trump got elected.
Look, I mean, you make a very good point. The thing about it is that you aren't just serving the president, you're serving the presidency. And it's mixed role. And so what you want to do when you're picking that cabinet, yes, you want people who you trust, who are close to you, but you also have to be signaling to the world something about your standards and what you think is important. At that level, you got two problems. One is you're signaling to the whole world, especially the Muslim world, that you have somebody who is a very, very offensive sort of a character, but also the way the White House is structured. Everything comes up from the bottom up to those closest people to the White House. So what you're going to have is somebody who's going to be filtering an awful lot of the information coming up through the federal family. And that filter matters. The thinking of that filter matters because the president can't talk to everybody. He talks to a few people. So this is a very, very big development.
But Kayleigh, I mean, just arguing Donald Trump's perspective, if I'm Donald Trump and there's a lot of folks who want to drain the swamp and who want a different way, if you just surround yourself with establishment types, then you're just like everybody else.
Anderson, that's exactly right. And that is the biggest fear of, the Trump inner circle, I think, would be that, those who
Washington changes the candidate doesn't change Washington.
Exactly. Those of us who supported Donald Trump supported him because he's not a politician, because he's anti-establishment. And Donald Trump sent out the most important signal to his supporters and to his voters today when he said Steve Bannon gets this position and Reince Priebus gets this one, because ultimately an agreement is going to come between the establishment wing of the party and the anti-establishment wing of the party. To have both is crucial. And Bannon, we ignore that his main really rallying cause is ridding government of corruption. Newt Gingrich was on today saying that he deeply is passionate about ridding government of corruption. That is the guy who I want to have Donald Trump here.
But here's the thing. It's fine to bring somebody in to rid the government of the insiders, to have a clean slate, to do what Donald Trump says he wants to do about the government. But we're talking about Bannon. He's a racist. He advances anti-Semitic views. It's not just about what Carl said, that he's a killer, meaning not literally. This man is at the spear, at the tip of an anti-Semitic, racist, xenophobic movement That is not something that we should have in the White House.
I think it's very irresponsible
It's
to
not-
label someone a racist without facts and without proof of that. I think we should all be
We should
doing.
look at Breitbart News and look at what he has done and what he's promoted. He was proud of it. You're trying to whitewash something that he was very proud of.
I think we all should look to President Obama right now, who set an amazing example for this country when he said, let's give this guy a chance, let's come together, let's unite. Instead of demonizing one another, demonizing President-elect Donald Trump, demonizing his advisors, let's give him a chance.
No, I'm not going to get.
No, I'm not going to. No, but we can't
normalize racism and anti-Semitism.
Okay.
We can't do that.
Carl?
Anderson.
One of the most important things that's happened here is that we are watching the President of the United States undertake the education of Donald Trump. That's what happened. I've talked to people who, in the White House and around Donald Trump, who talk about how President Obama laid on Donald Trump the mantle of the seriousness and huge responsibility of the presidency and how Trump reacted to it. He was stunned. And what we are seeing in those comments by the president is his attempt to get Trump to tone this stuff down and to try to unite the country. It's a really extraordinary and patriotic thing that our president is doing here, and it's very, very interesting because it's a little bit of what George Bush did when Obama took office, but it's hugely important.
Well, I just want to say a couple of things here. First of all, yes, we're supposed to give the president a chance. It doesn't mean we have to give him a pass on everything. And it really is, I think, a moment of truth for the country. Can you imagine if Hillary Clinton had gotten elected and she had someone, who's a part of her cabinet who had been, or a part of her inner circle, who had been the editor of the Revolutionary Worker, a Maoist newspaper that calls for the overthrow of the government? People would freak out and they would say, what is going on? I was a low-level advisor and people freaked out about stuff I said when I was in college. So you have this kind of a weird double standard. The Republicans, when Obama came in, it was all obstruction. It was delegitimate him from the very beginning, say he's not even a citizen. And the same people who led that movement are now telling us we can't ask questions about an anti-Jewish bigot being put in the inner circle of the president. It doesn't make any sense. We've got to continue to have a serious debate about the direction of our country, and that includes talking about who's put in the inner circle of the president of the United States.
All right. Well, Kayleigh.
I was just going to say, no one is saying you can't ask questions, but there's a line between asking a question and labeling someone a racist, which is what Jonathan just did. And there's a line, hold on, let me finish. There is a line between asking questions and legitimizing Donald Trump wanting to put people in internment camps, which is what you said last night, Van.
Are you saying Bannon is not part of the alt-right?
And uniting means not putting out false labels and false statements.
Are you saying
I want Van to be able to respond to that.
Look, Kayleigh, we've known each other for a long time, and I've never taken your words and twisted them in any way. And I'm very, we've butted our heads, but I've never done to you what you just did to me. I'd never said, and I really hope you'll apologize to me, I never said that Donald Trump is going to put people in internment camps. What I said was that there were Muslims who had contacted me who were afraid of that. I was trying to talk about the level of fear that was existing in the Muslim community. And that level of fear has frankly gone higher, not lower. So for you to take something that I was trying to share with you and our fellow panelists about the level of fear and make it seem like I'm being irresponsible, I think is horribly unfair to me,
As
Kayleigh.
political commentators, we have a duty and an obligation, Van, to correct mistruths and falsehoods, and it is a falsehood.
And I did.
No, you didn't correct that. It took me correcting you, Van.
No,
we
that's
have
not
a duty.
true, Kayleigh.
We have an obligation.
I'm disappointed in you now.
We have an obligation to correct falsehoods. And President Barack Obama stood up there and said, "It's time to unite," and that means getting rid of these rumors and dispelling these rumors.
Bannon is a racist and an anti-Semite, and he's at
That's not true.
He's at the head of an alt-right movement that is completely anti-American, frankly, in terms of American values. You should be ashamed of yourself that you're justifying what he's about.
All right.
I'm very proud of this campaign, and I'm very proud of this
I know you're proud, and let's
end it there. We'll have more.